it was a gorgeous car and it was
Yeah.
super fun. I did exhaust, I did intake, I lowered the car. Now, mind you, I was of that mind where I could lower the car. I had enough money to lower the car, but I didn't have enough money to do it correctly and adjust the camber, right? So my
Right.
wheels
Murdering
were doing
tires.
this,
Yeah.
going down the road, right?
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Two Car Guys podcast. I'm John. This is Adam. And we're going to be talking about, got my arrows right. Let's go. We're going to be talking about aftermarket upgrades, good ones, bad ones, and ones that we all do, right? So, Adam, kick it off.
I mean, how about just upgrades in general, right? So I think John and I were talking about this a little beforehand. There are certain things that I do to every vehicle I own, to the point where I have some like sitting in the tool chest. My next door neighbor picked up a truck, an F-150, and I know John has an issue with this, especially. But my next door neighbor just picked up an F-150, and the 2024s still have the big wire, antenna.
Super antenna.
Yeah. Now it's good. That antenna is good if you're going into a parking deck, when that thing hits the ceiling that you're really close. But one of the first things I do whenever I get an F-150 is I get the short antenna, the stubby antenna.
You might as well delete it.
That's like the first thing I do.
Here's my question. Why in 2025 almost, we're still putting the stick up antennas on Fords? Dodge doesn't do it. Chevrolet, I think, still does it as well.
I think maybe they do.
What? Why? My radio reception in my Dodge is just fine without it. So
I got to be honest with you. I don't listen to the radio in the car. I listen to streaming music off of my phone, and that's pretty much it. And
you remember when you had the CD fold out book?
Oh, heck yeah. The book. I used to have the overhead on the sun visor. Yeah, all the CDs up there. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
But I always do that on trucks. But on every car I do now, I tint I always tint the windows, right? So if it's an SUV and it has the rear windows tinted, I just tint the driver passenger. If it's a car, I tint the whole thing. So
okay, when I come back up in the Aston, going to your tint guy probably.
Oh, you definitely need to go to my tint guy. That Aston is like a fishbowl.
Yeah, it's a fishbowl.
Now, I will tell you, my Aston needs some additional tint because in the sunlight, that thing is like an oven inside there.
It's
unbelievable. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, anyways. My car gets hot too, but it's a fishbowl, so I expect it. But I'm just really, really worried about the leather. The dashes are known to have issues in the sun, and I just
because they shrink.
It's like my number one stress, like on that car, is that something's going to happen. But so we were talking about all the different upgrades we do to cars and all this stuff, and we both love to take a perfectly good car and make it perfectly better.
I mean, I feel like. Yeah. I feel like it's a personalization thing for me, right? Yeah. We've talked about this on the channel before. I don't want to have the same car everybody else has, right? I feel like, I should be able to have it a little bit different, right? So I'll give you a perfect example. My X5 BMW. There's not a whole lot that I was planning to do with that. It already came with like the smoky headlight, smoky tail lights. It already came with the black wheels, the red brakes. I added the bigger vent inlets on the sides just because I thought it looked better. I debadged it and then I put on black badging because everything else on the car was black.
M on a car that's not.
I did not put an M on the car.
My guy.
Yeah. Now it does say M Sport inside the door sill, but that was from BMW. That wasn't from me.
Yeah.
But I did not put an M on the car. Although I hear if you do, it adds like 5 horsepower. So
7 actually.
7. There we go. That car was tinted. I put the bigger vents on the side. I did the black X5 badge on the back.
Nice.
And then I did the carbon fiber mirror caps on it.
I like to go for like the OEM plus look. And I feel like you've done a great job of capturing that with the BMW.
It's got to be clean to me.
Yeah. I mean, don't overdo it, right? But make it that little more that people that know. People that don't know don't care, right? It's like, okay, it's a BMW. You know what I mean? But you did stuff to your Aston that I really like. So like the steering wheel. You do it to all your cars, and
Yeah.
good taste, honestly, and pop a picture up because it looks really, really good. And you would think it came from the factory.
Yeah, so everybody that sees that thinks it did come from the factory, but I kind of did that not intending to do it, honestly. I did it because that car came with an all Alcantara steering wheel.
Yep.
And I'd never had one before, and I was like, I'm gonna, you know, it's a limited production car. It's rare. I'm gonna just wear this thing down. And it's gonna be a mess.
Absolutely.
And I just happened to meet a guy who did that at the same time. We've talked about him on the channel. The guy's absolutely incredible. You can give him any color, any pattern. He even does, like, for the BMWs, he does all 3 stitchings, the 2 blues and the red. But he did my Aston wheel and he did my McLaren wheel, and it just came out amazing. And to your point, that's really, other than tint and PPF on the Aston, that's really the only upgrade or modification I did on the outside. Now I did recently do the CarPlay integration,
right?
Which honestly makes that car feel a lot more modern. But it looks factory, so it's not something. It's not like I put an aftermarket head unit in or something, you know.
Yeah. So when we were talking about it earlier, I was telling him about what I used to say, and it's kind of dumb now that I think about it. But I always had the 5 T's, right? And it was like tent, tag, to the ground, and I'm gonna say tires and tune, right, or something like that. And and now it's like I've kind of gone all over the place with little variations of that on all of my cars. But yeah, the cars I went the craziest with were the Corvettes.
No, that's not true.
No,
that's not true.
What car are we talking about now?
Anybody who is an OG to this channel has seen a certain car that you had painted.
Oh yeah. Oh, you're talking about the orange car.
Had like a body kit on it, and
I did 2 cars like that. I did a 1990 model Plymouth Sundance, and
there you go.
Adam, here's your chance to pop a picture up. It was the first car that I ever had. It was my mom's car, and I turned around and made it a something it wasn't supposed to be. And then the next car that I paid cash for with payments, it was an $800 Sunfire when I worked at CC's Pizza, and and I did and I can't take credit for the body kit. When I was deployed, or when I was at basic training for the military, my buddies actually took the car and put the body kit on it, and then I paid to have it all painted and everything and make it look good.
Right. There you go.
So but you start from the bottom. Now we're here, I guess.
So was that the craziest modifications you've done to a car?
I mean, I've lowered pretty much everything. I've changed the wheels on pretty much everything. But yeah, I mean, the craziest modifications would be full paint, I would think.
So I used to be big into changing wheels, right? So I had a 98 Chevy S10 in high school, lowered it. I did, the blacked out taillights, blacked out headlights, right? Tinted it. And then that was in I used to work for a car audio installer.
Nice.
And we built an entire system in the car, and then we kind of ripped it all out and started all over again.
Yeah.
And I ended up building it so that we had 312s on the inside of the truck.
Yeah.
And then the amplifiers, all the stuff. And for those of you who are, curious about how old John and I are, I had a mobile VHS in the back of the car.
VHS. Now I will say, on the orange car, I had 2 12s, 2 10s, another amp for just mids and highs and lows. I was all into audio. I probably had more in audio in all of my cars back in the day than the car was worth at the time.
Oh yeah, easily.
Like when Power Acoustic made the Mofo. Do you remember that speaker?
Yeah.
People that know audio would understand. I had that, and then I had a Memphis.
Oh my God,
a Memphis. Memphis
amp,
monoblock, like 7,000 watt amp. Had a Vegas. I had all that crazy stuff back in the day. But
I used to get so into that because
we
went through this phase where you could take, and they made these amps digital.
Yeah.
And you could essentially wire the amp in such a way where a 500-watt amp became like a 1,000-watt amp.
Yeah, 1,000
because
watt.
the way you wired it. Yep. It wired it down to 1 ohm. Yeah.
Yeah, that wired down to 1 ohm. So I had all kinds of wasted money on audio. And I'll say that gladly to understand that was a phase that I'm no longer part of that life.
So, well, I mean, but see, and the part of me misses that though, because when we were of that age, radios were almost built to be taken out of cars.
Yeah.
Because they didn't, fit the lines of the car. They were, I mean, think about like the Chevy S10, right? The whole fascia panel came off, and with 2 little screws, you take the whole radio out and then just plug in a new radio. Yeah. Oh, if you had one, like the Fords had the little hooks, you just slide the hook in and pull the radio out. And I mean, people were buying Alpines and Pioneers and Clarion radios and throwing them suckers in there. And that was like in its heyday.
Yeah,
now,
absolutely.
if you bought a 2024, M4, right, comp, that whole thing is one big solid screen.
Married to it, man.
Yeah, there's nothing to replace.
In a positive way,
kind of it is in a positive way, but I firmly believe that part of my creativity and the stuff I loved about the car was in that part, right?
Yeah.
So, when I left the S10 and I graduated to a tuner car, I actually got a 99 Honda Civic Si, right?
Okay.
And loved that car. I got it in the in the blue color. I had white wheels on it, and then I ended up doing some inky white wheels, like 18-inch white wheels.
Yeah.
I ended up having a full interior done on the car, which was white centers with gray, sides, white ceiling, white dash, all this stuff. It was crazy. It was a gorgeous car, and it was super fun. I did exhaust, I did intake, I lowered the car. Now, mind you, I was of that mind where I could lower the car. I had enough money to lower the car, but I didn't have enough money to do it correctly and adjust the camber, right? So my wheels were doing this, going down the road, right? Which, by the way, I'm going to post some pictures. John saw some cars that were, I mean, just like that.
Like, it was, they intentionally did this. I mean, they're literally riding on the inside of the wheel, not even the tire, man. Like, they're putting, this is the wildest thing I've ever seen. And I get it. It's a new thing. JDM's back, but this is a whole new
I have so many questions. So many questions.
Anybody that understands these cars that he's posting right now, please explain it to me in the comments. I have
so many questions about those pictures.
I guess. I think I'm old. But they were like taping up the front fenders. The fenders were like coming off.
But one of them has painter's tape on the whole front end of the car, and it's not like it's all blue painter's tape. They did it in a design on the front of the car. Like,
it was wild, man. But yeah, I mean, we saw those on the way down to our trip to Florida. But I mean, hey, this is the thing. If that's your thing and you like it, I'm not hating it. I just don't understand it. So
I don't understand
help
it.
Me understand.
I don't hate it, because when I look at that, I think that's somebody who loves cars, right?
Yeah.
And I'm
one thing
cool
about
with that.
One thing about playing with exotic cars to me is how expensive it is to mod the car.
It is.
I mean, it's just so much more expensive.
It is very expensive.
It is in other stuff.
But it's also risky, right?
Absolutely.
Because the thing is, if you have a Honda Civic Si, a 99 Honda Civic Si, and you put exhaust and intake on it and all that stuff, and you screw something up, right? It's not the end of the world, right? No. If you screw something up in a McLaren,
it's the
ECU in that thing could be 10 grand.
Oh,
you know?
And I mean,
yeah.
For instance, a front splitter and I always go back to the C8s because I love them. I think they're great bang for the buck. I think they're awesome entry level sports into the almost supercarish.
No, I think
style?
they've definitely graduated with the C8. I think they definitely graduated into the supercar realm.
Yeah.
I still need to have a conversation with people about the difference between an exotic and a non-exotic, but
Right.
I will go to my grave saying that the C8 is a supercar. It is.
Right. But value, man. I mean, I could buy a front splitter. I could change the wheels. I could do everything for $3,000. I'm in it for, mostly that would cover the wheels, the exhaust, the everything. I could do everything. $5,000. I could have that car the way I want it, personalized to me.
But that's why there's so many of them.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's why when you and I go to Caffeine Octane, there's 50 of them, right?
Right.
But here's the thing. Is that a bad thing? I don't think it is. I think that that is a gateway, we'll call it a gateway drug, right? I think that's a gateway drug into having that supercar performance, that supercar look and feel, and being able to kind of put your twist on it, right?
So Corvette is a gateway drug to supercardom.
It is. I completely think it is. And with the new ZR1, it's going to be a supercar killer, hypercar killer in some cases, right?
I'm excited about that.
But when we talk about mods, I'll tell you a quick story. So I was big into doing radio mods, when I had my truck and when I had my Civic and all that stuff.
Right.
And this is like when the TVs are starting to come out in cars and everything.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
My truck, I had a TV in the front. And it was little. It was like a 4.6-inch TV, and it was like that thick. And everybody was like, "Oh my god, it's so cool!" My phone's thinner than that and bigger than that now.
Right.
But what was really funny was I had a Honda Civic. I was working in downtown Atlanta at the time,
right?
And I had parked it across the street from where I was working, that night, and because I worked as a bar back, right? And so I was working as a bar back, so the car's there late at night, parked across the street, and I had just saved up all this money, and I got essentially a new in-dash TV, the one that folds out, you put the CD behind it, right?
Yeah.
I got a like an EQ that went the way the Civics were. You had that little pocket down in front of the shifter, and you could put a radio down there.
EQ in there and play with the different settings.
So I was going to have the EQ down there. I was going to have the the TV with all that stuff up top.
Yeah.
I had subwoofers, I had amplifiers, I had audio, all this crap, right?
Absolutely.
For the life of me, I can't remember why it wasn't in the trunk of the car.
Oh no.
It was on the back seat.
I know the end of this story.
Right? And I literally, now that car was a theft magnet. I was trying to sell it at one point. Somebody crawled up underneath it and unbolted the exhaust. I had it where I was trying to get rid of it, and somebody smashed out the window. And I keep my cars with like nothing in them, so I smashed out the window.
Except for this day.
Yeah, no, except for this day. So anyway, so the car's parked across the street. I get off of work. I'm talking to my friends. I walk over there, and I walk up, and I pull the handle, and the door's unlocked. And I was like, "Oh man, no, windows aren't smashed, right?
Yeah, right.
No, nothing's broken.
Just
they
left it
pop
unlocked.
the door. They pop the door lock.
Pop the handle.
Yeah. So I get in the car. The radio, right? In the Honda Civics, you could just pull it out.
Right.
They had pulled out the radio, unplugged it, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And this was like an aftermarket radio. It wasn't anything crazy, but they pulled out the radio, unplugged it, and dipped.
They didn't take the radio with them?
They took the radio.
Oh, okay.
Meanwhile, brand new radio sitting on the back seat. Brand new EQ sitting on the back seat.
Yeah.
All that subwoofers, all that stuff sitting on the back seat. And the hilarious part was I had to drive home after work in pure silence with wind noise, right?
And then go and install your new stuff.
But I got home and I was like, this guy saved me about 3 steps because I was going to have to unplug the radio anyway. I was going to.
This didn't cut anything, man.
No,
hey,
didn't cut a single wire.
Nice.
I mean, whoever you are, it was like the nicest car theft ever, but nice. Yeah, it like saved me a step. But I mean, I was huge into car audio for the longest time. And then when I got out of that car, I got into I think my next car after that was like a Nissan Maxima, and then
Right.
I had other cars after that, and it wasn't until I picked up a 2011 Ford F-150,
Right.
and it didn't have a backup camera, and I
Okay.
bought an aftermarket setup that looked factory, that
Right.
had like backup camera, navigation, all that stuff,
Right.
and put that one in there, and then in my F-150 before my Roush, I had done full leather. I had done wheels and tires.
Right.
I did the Raptor style front grille, the dark headlights, the darker taillights, and then I did the Tesla style screen.
Right.
So it was a vertical screen. It was an Android an Android
base
back end.
Yeah. Right.
And it was, like a huge touchscreen, but it was very
Not
very
great.
buggy. Yeah, it was very buggy, very laggy,
Yeah.
But I mean, on my most recent cars, I haven't had a need to do any of that. And like I said, with the BMW, you can't do that because the screen has everything in it.
All part of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The latest mods I've done have been when I had the C8s, I did the wheels, we did headers, catback, stuff like that. But
Now you
outside
did
of
an
that,
exhaust recently on the Nissan.
oh
and
yeah,
then immediately changed it back.
So I thought that I'm getting older, and obviously I don't like all the drone and stuff. And it has an axle back system on it that's like unknown. I don't even know the brand, and it sounds okay. I mean, it burbles on downshifts and all that stuff, but it's a little louder than I wanted. And I remember the Nismo Z's having like a better sound than the stock Z.
Yeah.
And it's probably a little better, but it's not enough. It sounded so quiet. It sounded like a vacuum cleaner. And my wife even was like, "You just killed the car. Just put it back." And I was like, "Okay."
Yeah.
So
no, I mean we've all been there, but I'll tell you, when I was younger, right, there were certain things, there were mods, and I'm kind of ashamed to admit some of these, but there's good mods and then there's bad mods. We all know that, right?
Man,
so
absolutely.
like a good mod is maybe an intake and exhaust, right? A bad mod may be having enough money to lower the car but not adjusting the camber, so your wheels. Yeah, your wheels. Oh yeah, it's a great one, right? Remember the clamps that you could put on your springs to squeeze them?
You could squeeze them and you could flip them inside out and raise them. And a buddy of mine had a Celica, and he raised the back as far as he could, and it literally looked like this, and it was like front wheel drive, so he could do like the craziest 180s. But that was back in high school.
So I had just told John that there is a $3 mod you can do for like an EcoBoost truck, where you can take a chair leg cover, so the little rubber covers off a chair leg. You can take the vacuum hose off of the diverter valve EcoBoost motor, and you can cap it with the chair leg, and I think it's like a 1-inch chair leg, and it gives you ridiculous turbo blow off noises. It's like, instead of doing a blow off valve, right?
Yeah, so that's a perfect mod for a $50,000-$60,000 truck. Let's just grab us a 10 cent.
I mean, that's like a
part and call it done.
Yeah, but I mean, to be honest, there are some 10-cent mods that are actually pretty cool. Yeah. And there are some that are just silly, right? So I don't know if do you remember, and I'll probably find a picture of it I can post up here. Do you remember the little whistle that you could put inside
the exhaust?
In the exhaust that would make it sound like you had a turbo in the car?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, man. So I'll tell you one mod I did. I had a 90 model S10, and I did you could buy at Walmart, sold them, and it was a 14-inch wheel that I had on the truck, and I couldn't afford wheels yet. And so, but you could buy, it was a 16-inch center cap, and it had like little springs on it, so it would ride on the tire, and it was fine until it wasn't. And and so I bought a set of these, and the truck instantly looked better because I had 16s on it, right? Quote unquote. And anyways, it wore a line in the tire until it almost popped a tire on me.
Oh man. See, I didn't even know that was a thing, to be honest with you. I didn't know.
Yeah, this is back when in like full when Lightning Audio was being sold out of Walmart.
Yeah.
And all of that's that era.
I know I've got friends of mine that they buy a car, every car they buy, downpipes and a tune on every single one.
Absolutely.
You know,
yeah.
I would love to do that, but I'm in that mode right now where some of the cars I have, I just don't want to mess with that part of it because I don't want any issues under warranty.
I love the sound of downpipes. I hate the smell. It's like riding a Harley. You know, I love my Harley to death. I love the way it sounds, but I don't like smelling like it when I get off of it.
Yeah.
And straight pipes to me just don't smell that great. And, you know, hate me in the comments. I think they're awesome products, but I mean, at least do a high flow cat. And, you know, if you're buying something from APR, we don't support downpipes anyway. So have fun. I mean, 100% fix up everything, including the cars, the motorcycles, everything. So it's all a balancing act of money at this point. What do I want to lose money on today?
Yeah, I mean, we're in the market for it, man. You get a car or motorcycle right now, you're almost guaranteed to lose money on it.
Oh yeah, it's tough right now. The market is changing, and maybe we'll talk some more about that on the next episode.
Yeah. But you know, I'd be interested to hear some of our subscribers, some of the people listening. What are your favorite mods, or what are your go-to mods when you buy a vehicle, right?
Yeah.
And then you know, aesthetics wise, performance wise, are you a stock, you know, leave it stock? Do you buy it, you know, and leave it stock, or do you do exhaust? Do you do intake? You know, when I bought the Roush F-150, it was tough to do anything performance to that truck because it already had the supercharger, it had the intake, it had a tune, right? And it had the exhaust with the modulator on it, so you could do like quiet, Baja, sport. Yeah.
Could you put it in wet mode?
Yeah, I could put it in wet mode.
Inside joke. Sorry, guys.
This guy.
No, but yeah, no. In the comments, let us know what's your favorite mod. What's your least favorite mod? Like, is there something out there that you saw and you're just like, that is absolute garbage, you know? But yeah, let us know, man. Tell us what you think, and you know, tell us about everything. I mean, what have you done to your car? And you know, let's talk about it.
How about a giant articulating wing on a front wheel drive car?
I mean, look, hey, everybody's got their thing, right? And sometimes they need more rear lift, you know.
Downforce.
Send that bad boy to SpaceX.
Oh my goodness. All right, guys. Boys. Thanks so much for listening. Thanks for subscribing. If you haven't subscribed, please do. If you have subscribed, make sure you hit the bell so you can hear all of our latest stuff. We put out shorts almost every day. So you know, little clips from this, and sometimes I snazz them up a little bit, so it's a lot of fun. But yeah, hit the bell, hit the subscribe, like and share, and come back for more.
See y'all next time.
See ya.